Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the August 6th Board of Supervisors meeting here at Brandon at 9 o'clock. We usually like to get things started with invocation. I've asked Judge McDaniel if he kind enough to share that with us, please.
It would be an honor. God, we thank you that we live in such a wonderful community. We thank you that Rankin County has just been blessed with all of the resources any people could expect to be blessed with. And we thank you for those here who are responsible for guiding our entire county, not just our board, but the county officials that are here, the staff. Lord, you just blessed us with great unity, great love for one another and for you. So I thank you for that. And I ask you to bless this meeting today and bless the actions taken by this board. May they be pleasing to you, and may all we do be pleasing in your sight. We pray in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, Judge. We're going to move on into public comments and recognition. Today we're going to start off with Mr. Bill Townsend, his recognition of service.
Bill, would you come forward, please? Yes, please, absolutely. And all, amen, more. Yes.
More, that's what I think, more.
Bring your better half with you as well. Judge McDaniel, I'd love for you to come forward if you don't mind as well. Mr. Bill, join me right here up front. Thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for being here. Board of Supervisors is thrilled to be able to recognize Mr. Bill Townsend on the occasion of his retirement from 36 years of service, faithful service to the citizens of Rankin County. And the board has authorized the preparation of a resolution. Judge McDaniel, I want to thank you for your help in putting together this resolution for Mr. Bill. And Mr. Bill, I'm going to read this resolution. It may take just a little while, but that's 36 years worth of service to the county, so it may take just a little while to get through this. But know that this is heartfelt, and it comes from our hearts to you in appreciation for what you've done for the citizens. Whereas William O. Bill Townsend retired on June 30th, 2018, following 36 years of continuous service as the Chief Public Defender in Rankin County, Mississippi, being the longest-serving public defender in the state of Mississippi since his appointment in October of 1982. Whereas Bill Townsend was a native of Winona, Mississippi, graduated from Mississippi State University, go Dogs, and received his law degree in 1972 from the Mississippi College School of Law. Submitted to practice at the Mississippi Bar in 1973, whereas Bill Townsend worked for Governor Bill Waller and the Mississippi Employment Security Agency in his early career prior to opening a private law office in Rankin County and raising his family here with his wife Carla and his children, James and Mandy, who have given Bill and Carla 3 grandchildren. And whereas Bill Townsend served under at least 8 circuit judges, Nichols, Goza, Tony, Richardson, Kitchens, Chapman, M. Finger, and Ratcliffe, defending thousands of criminals, I love this, charged with almost every imaginable crime, including at least 9 capital murder cases. And whereas Bill Townsend has presided over a public defender office which has grown from 2 assistants to 9 assistant public defenders, including youth court and justice court, and providing indigent defense services to one of the busiest court dockets in Mississippi, using part-time private attorneys at a significant savings to the taxpayers of the county. And whereas Bill Townsend has now honorably retired from service to the citizens and judicial system of Rankin County as our Chief Public Defender for the past 36 years, now therefore be it resolved by the Rankin County Board of Supervisors at their regular meeting held in Brandon on this, the 6th day of August 2018, that William O. Bill Townsend is to be commended for his long and faithful service to Rankin County and its citizens. That's signed on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, the Chancery Clerk, and it comes with our sincerest appreciation for your service, Mr. Bill. Thank you so much. On this special occasion, we don't oftentimes, Mr. Bill, we don't do this, but the original of this resolution has been framed already for you, so you can't mess that up. It's framed, and we just appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Mr. President, could I ask, there's a whole bunch of people that came here in support of Bill. Could I ask them to just stand up?
Absolutely.
And see what kind of, all y'all came here to support him. There you go. A lot of these are public defenders and others who we appreciate what he's done for us.
Judge, why don't you bring them up front?
Yep.
Yeah. Come on, guys. We'll get a picture real quick.
Turn it around, Mr. Bill, where you see, if I can see the front of it.
course, Judge Broom's one of them, but he's already standing, so.
Anytime you put John Elliott in the picture, it's gonna look better, no doubt.
Amen. Amen.
No, that's his wife, Janet.
That's it.
Mr. Bell, you and your wife get in the middle. Brad, let them get in the middle before you don't mind.
The best idea is to meet.
Come on, Miss Connie.
You may go with me.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. We appreciate your service. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies. We appreciate it.
Thanks, bud. Good to see you.
Guys.
Thank you, Judge. Good to see you.
Yes,
Very helpful.
Appreciate it, Judge.
Thank you.
Well, it's not every day you get to go from recognizing someone who has served 36 years for the citizens of Rankin County to the goat tail untying world champion, which we have that opportunity this morning. Ms. Zeta Morgan is that recipient, and Mr. Slay has something he'd like to say.
Absolutely. Say it.
The world champion book.
Ellen, you want to vote? Are you sure? I'll yourself. This is Zeta Morgan. She is 9 years old, and she is a student at Hartfield Academy, and she's also really, really good at untying goat tails. She's pretty amazing at it. And I've got a resolution here, guys, to commend Miss Zeta on her winning the title of National Champion Goat Tail Untyer at the 2018 National Little Britches Rodeo Championship. She did that all the way over in Oklahoma, Guthrie, Oklahoma, and we're very, very proud of her. So I'm going to read this resolution. And she also has a sister who's here. Hey, Zoe, wave to them so they can see where you are. There she is, right there. Good. And that's Dad Brad right there, too, so he's pretty proud. So let me read this resolution. We're very proud. Whereas Miss Zeta Morgan is the 9-year-old daughter of Brad and Ellen Morgan, all of whom are residents of Rankin County Supervisor District 4. I got that in for you, Steve. Whereas on July the 10th through the 15th in 2018, Ms. Zeta Morgan competed as a contestant in 4 events at the National Little Britches Rodeo Finals in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Said events being the barrels, the poles, the flag race, and the goat tail untying. There were 1,140 contestants from across the nation, and they ran in ages from 5 to 18, and they all competed at the National Little Britches Rodeo Finals. And whereas during the course of the week-long competition, Zeta competed at the highest level and earned the distinction as a finals average winner in her age category. She earned a $1,000 college scholarship, and she received belt buckles for competing in the event finals, and she was declared the world champion in goat tail untying with a time of 6.6 seconds in her race. And so that was pretty awesome. That's pretty good. Whereas Zeta will be a 4th grader at Hartfield Academy, and so far she has earned an all-A average in her schooling. Now that's important. That's awesome. Whereas Rankin County, Mississippi is a proud supporter of the livestock and horse communities in our county, and we are especially proud to support our youth and their parents who seek to achieve at the highest levels of sports, including rodeo sports. Rankin County firmly believes that rodeo competitions provide experiences, opportunities, and encounters that last a lifetime, and they serve to instill valuable mental and physical skills, work ethic, and learning experiences that would otherwise be unavailable. And we are very proud of Zeta Morgan and the Morgan family for their commitment to rodeo and their steadfast support of Rankin County. So it's with great pride on behalf of all citizens of Rankin County that we, the Board of Supervisors, recognize and commend Ms. Zeta Morgan on her incredible achievements at the 2018 National Little Britches Rodeo Finals. And that's signed by all the supervisors, and they dated it today, and there is the original of the resolution for you. You can give that to your mom, and she'll figure out what to do with that, okay? We're so proud of you, Zeta. Congratulations.
We'll get Mom and Sister and Dad up here real quick. We'll take a picture.
Quick picture.
Come on.
Photo moment.
We'll let y'all kind of get to the center. Thank y'all, we appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, look here.
Let's give them pictures.
We just passed them
We're
down.
gonna pass them down. Okay, I said, okay,
No, that's one
okay,
for each of
okay,
us.
I got it. Each of us one. Oh, okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Y'all, this isn't the first time. I mean, Zeta's 9. She's made the short round or the finals at the national finals, I think 3 years in a row. But last year, she told Brad, her father, she ended up like 6th in the world, and said, "I'm mad. Next year, I'm winning it all."
No, I didn't even go out there.
I think she
I
can
got that.
outride you, I think.
Oh, I know she can.
You were my
I
number
got-
one
I got-
cowboy
I got-
till this moment right here. I think you could outride this guy. What do you think?
No doubt about that.
I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure,
We're not
looking
gonna-
at what I see right here.
Thank you, Zeta. All right, now we
Yeah,
go
bumped you
from
up as number one
goat
cowboy.
on time to mosquitoes. All right,
That's gonna be a
Brandon.
tough act to follow.
Yeah, really.
You might just sort of slip out.
As I like to tell folks, every day you wake up in Rankin County, you wake up to a new day. You never know what to expect.
I tell you what, here in the last several years, every time I come, y'all have something like that in front of me, I'm gonna just start sending a video. At least I got a good news report. Everything this year, this season has been doing really well. Going by our surveillance traps and reports from last year and the year before, the mosquitoes are down. I know people don't believe me when I say that, but they are down than what they were 2-3 years ago. We have not had any major problems or any kind of, what's the word I'm trying to think? We haven't had an explosion of mosquitoes. I don't know the proper word to say, but everything seems to be going according to plan. If y'all looked at the report, look at the graphs from last year to this year, mosquitoes are running about regular, maybe a little lower than normal. We still got them, but we're still fighting. No major problems, no major concerns at the moment. We have kind of entered the time of year we start seeing some West Nile cases, so far we've had none in Rankin County, and we're working hard to prevent that. And my bosses and I and some other folks from around the country are starting to work on an initiative to try to see if we can help prevent that even more. I'll let y'all know more about that as we get to work on it. Do y'all have any questions for me? I'm talking too soft.
See, we couldn't
Can you
hear-
repeat
we didn't
all
hear a
that
word you
again?
said. I'm picking.
Wonderful.
I'm picking.
That's great. Everything's going perfect.
Yeah.
We are doing a great job. That's all you need to know. So,
We are,
do y'all have any questions for me?
no, I've heard with other outbreaks in other counties, so obviously we're blessed here.
Yes, we are. We've had to fight some in Hines County, and I won't say too much about that, and it's lower than it was last year. But we're fighting there, and we're trying to do some things, not just here in Rankin County, across the country, as a company that will help even more as prevention instead of reacting. I'll let y'all know more about that as we get more into it. So.
I'm gonna bring you some. Got a box of them out there.
All right, y'all have a good day. Thank y'all for seeing me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Brandon.
it. Next up, I don't see Mr. Franco here today at the moment. Is he planning on, well, something not to make any difference. Mr. Coxwell asked to say a few words.
Good morning.
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 My name is Mel Coxwell, and I'm a candidate for Rankin County Chancery Court Judge, Place 2. Judge John Grant, who served for 23 years, is not seeking re-election. Chancery Court is primarily family court. It also does wills, estates, trust, and most land matters, but the most important thing a chancellor does is protect children. When people come to court fighting over custody of their kids, both sides tell you that they're the good parent. Both sides tell you that the other parent is bad. And some go even further and make allegations of abuse and neglect against the other parent. And unfortunately, abuse and neglect are very real problems here in Rankin County. But just as bad is when someone comes into court and lies and to accuse someone falsely of abuse and neglect to gain an advantage in a custody case. The thing is, the chancellor has to base his or her decision on a few hours or at best a few days of often conflicting evidence and testimony. And if abuse exists and the chancellor gets that wrong, a child goes home with an abusive parent. But if abuse doesn't exist and the chancellor gets that wrong, a parent-child relationship is destroyed. These kids need a judge that has the experience that matters to make this decision. I began this journey back in 1992 when I was first sworn in to practice law, and within a year I was tried in my first jury trial. Over the next 25 years, I've gone on to try cases in justice, municipal, county, circuit, chancery, and federal district courts all over this state. I have previously served as an assistant district attorney where I assisted law enforcement in the investigation and prosecution of cases such as burglary, child abuse, and murder. For the last 12 years, I have focused primarily on family law cases. I've tried everything from uncontested divorces to those fighting tooth and nail custody of their kids. Unfortunately, this year alone, I have tried 3 termination of parental rights cases. I've also served as a guardian ad litem investigating claims of abuse and neglect on behalf of the Rankin County Court, and I'm the only candidate that has prior judicial experience, having previously served as a municipal court judge. On a personal note, I'm 53 years old, and I've been married for 28 years to Leanne Jones Coxwell. We've raised 3 children in Rankin County and its public schools. Claire is a nurse down in Hattiesburg, and John and Katie are at Southern. We go to Brandon First United Methodist Church, where I serve as chairman of the Council of Ministries and as a certified lay speaker. I have previously served as president and vice president of the Rankin County Bar, president and vice president of the Rankin County Rotary Club, a bar commissioner from the 20th Judicial District, president of the United Methodist Men in my church, and for the past 5 years I had the privilege of serving as president of the Rankin County United Methodist Men, a coalition of men and women from 6 area churches that came together and presented the Wild Game Banquet that raised over $100,000 that was donated for Habitat for Humanity to build homes in Rankin County. I have the experience that matters from being a father, and now joining the Empty Nest Club to know just how difficult parenting could be, but just how important it is for children to be protected. And so what I'm asking for is your prayers for this. I did not realize just how hard politics was until I became a candidate. So I have a new appreciation for what this is. Your support, and on November 6th for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. We appreciate it. Anybody else, Ms. Janice? Anybody else for public comments? If not, then board will move on to old business. Is there a motion to approve the 16th and the 30th minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morris, a second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Cross, second by Mr. Morris.
Ms. Laura cut you
Excuse
off.
me just a minute, I'm sorry. I have one item to add to the consent for the sheriff. It's a new hire. If y'all will allow me to place that in line in the consent agenda.
Do we need to make a motion to that, add it to it?
Make a motion to add it to the consent agenda.
Motion by Mr. Morrison to add the sheriff's personnel to the agenda, second by Mr. Cross. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. There's a motion by Mr. Cross to approve the consent agenda, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussions? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Sullivan.
All right, we got a couple of new items, different. We acknowledge the receipt of the objections for 2018. We only have, there's 6 total, but 2 of them are Siemens, so only 4, which is pretty good.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. B.
Petition to change the set of 2017 real and personal property assessment.
Motion by Mr. Cross, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. C.
Request approval of the application 2017-18 for the authority to expend $1 million in accordance to 2739-329 as amended.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. D.
Item D is proposed update for the cost of parcels of addressing countywide flight. We did it in 2013, and this is to just get an RFP. We're not required to do anything basically, we're just putting on a list to see, with other counties, to see what it will cost. And like I said, we're not required to do this. Now, by law, we have to do it every 10 years, but we're not in that 10-year cycle. We did it in 2013. But your larger counties that grow much faster than others, by lumping in with other counties, you'll see a significant cost difference. But all this is to put us on the list to see what it's going to cost.
So moved.
So I don't think that's too-
Isn't this also, isn't it also to increase the amount that we're charging to, for the update?
Yes.
Currently charging 1 cent per parcel for commercial and 5 for government.
Beg pardon?
This is like the data sets when.
Yeah, no,
counties-
that
We're
I didn't
proposing a
remember.
price update of $200 per data set for commercial use and $100 per data set for government use and countywide data sets annually.
A set, what is a set? Is that the whole county?
Well, most of the time they break it down by section, township, and range. So usually it's a township, or like the city of Brandon would want just the city parcels. So.
I think we had a discussion, and what are you proposing to go to? I think we had a discussion last time. I was opposed to charging the cities across the board, because we're already paying for it anyway. It's a citizen of the city of Brandon. I pay it at the county level, so I don't see a reason I have to pay it again, but I was outvoted. But I think we ought to raise it high enough that we put it enough on the commercial side that we don't have to charge the cities. But what were you suggesting, Mr. Sullivan? Laura?
The commercial would be 200 per data set, and the government would be 100 per data set.
That's where we are right now.
Yeah, that's where we're going to. I don't think that's where we are right now.
That's
Right
an
now it's a
updated
half a
price.
cent per parcel.
Yeah, we've
It's
been
a what?
charging,
Half
we've been
what?
charging
Half a
by
cent per
parcel.
parcel.
This will be a flat fee, depending on whether it's commercial. If it's not countywide, we're just gonna charge a flat amount, 200 for commercial, 100 for the government.
Are you okay with that? I mean, how does that work out?
I mean, it's totally up to y'all. I'm fine with it, but we need to charge something. to
Yeah, I know,
people
but
that
I'm just
want
saying,
it.
is that,
I think it's a good, fair price. And like I
Let's
said,
let's
I
raise
can-
the commercial to 300 and drop the cities all together.
that is-
I mean,
And it's still a good price for
I mean, it's still.
commercial.
I mean, that ain't no money.
As a taxpayer, Brandon, I don't want to pay for it twice. That's, y'all,
I'm good with whatever y'all decide.
You think that's the best thing?
I don't,
Table
you don't have, you don't have
I
three
don't pay it in the
cities.
ci- I don't pay it in the city,
Four.
so I don't know, I mean.
There's nothing else tabled that Jay could be a part of that one, because,
Why don't, we could do it for the cities, like individuals pay a penny per parcel or a half cent for specialized data.
To what now?
We could do it like, it says the individuals will continue to pay 1 cent per parcel. And it's got here, a half cent per parcel for specialized data, but I don't know if that.
What is specialized data?
Decimal's in the wrong place there or not.
That is out of my realm of expertise.
Well, appropriate.
What we're talking about is for people to get information
It's
off
just-
of what y'all have
Right,
derived.
they'll have the
They to
information
pay a
and
little.
they'll want
Instead
to
of getting it for
know,
free.
an example would be every property owner in Rankin County that has 20 acres or more that's vacant. And we key it in the computer and it'll spit out all those. And those would be a penny a parcel.
For someone to
For someone.
get that data,
just
use
say
it for something
For
else.
someone like that, that's usually like a timber company.
Yeah.
And they want to try to buy people's timber and get things like that. The municipalities, they use it for anywhere from water bills to looking at different areas on demographics of the population, of whatever,
I understand.
age, and things of that nature. So it is a wealth of information that we have.
yes, he's got the city,
Everybody had it.
because he's got the city there.
Yeah. Will it hurt to table
Nah.
this for a meeting?
Not one bit, because we already have
We have a-
something
Yeah,
in
we got-
place
we got
already that we're
7
charging. We
or
just
2
feel that
years.
it should be.
Let's do that and give him, he represents the largest, only portion of that city anyway.
That's fine with me.
All right, okay, let's do that.
All right, Mr. Harrison.
So do you need a motion to table it, or you need anything to table, or just table
We're gonna reflect in the minutes, there's no action taken on D.
it? All right.
We'll bring it back to you.
You bring the chair to sit.
Oh, we're gonna try to compile it. Road work accomplished for July and road work scheduled
Motion
for August.
approved.
Motion by Mr. Cross, second by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. B, please.
Quick question, Mr. Slay,
Yes.
I think you got something on your,
I do, we're gonna cover my part under mine, this is
Okay.
on go.
okay.
Yep.
Something else later on. Request approval for AT&T to relocate pole at Country Meadows.
Motion by myself,
Second.
second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. C.
I'd like to take C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M.
Man,
Go
I
sit
like
down.
this man thinks.
A lot.
Motion to combine C through M on the agenda. Motion by Mr. Qual, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion?
Yeah, let me add one thing on that, and just a simple thing. I need a contact person, Mike, on who's laying it. The number I got this weekend was disconnected. That guy. I just need a contact of who is installing the fiber on the North Shore areas. So I mean,
Okay.
somebody we can talk to at some point. So,
I'll get that, and then
all right,
me and Craig's gonna clear up something else on this later on. So,
all right.
all right, thank y'all.
All right, I forgot where I
All
was.
in favor?
Second by Mr. Crawl, by Mr.
Yep.
Gaines. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Parker. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 3 items on the agenda. The first one I have is North Sand Hill Estates, and I'm recommending approval of that final plat that is in District 4. We do not need a letter of credit because they all run on public road.
Motion by Mr. Gaines, I assume.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. B, please, sir.
The Melamede Phase 2, I'm recommending approval of that final plat. It again is in District 4, and we have a letter of credit of $413,550.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Gaines, second, Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. C, please, sir.
Yes, sir, that's the River Forest Part 2, and we're making a recommendation of approval of the construction drawings on that project. That's in District 5.
Motion by.
If you heard any,
That's Bishop.
thoughts? Well,
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Cross.
you had anything from Mr. Bishop?
Have not.
Okay.
You want to table it?
I don't know. I guess so. I mean, if you've approved it,
Yes, sir, the construction plans are in order. The only thing that's ever really has come up out of River Forest is drainage. There's a, whatever they are, they're not apartments, but villas, yeah, anyways. Been some drainage issues in there which have been addressed, but in this particular part of River Forest, the majority of the drainage is going the total opposite direction, draining totally away from that development. So there should not be any impact.
it'll be more in the next phase if we do it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
There's a
good.
motion and a second on it. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Thank you.
Mr. Slade.
I wanted to mention, I noticed that Bart and Robbie Pierce walked out, but on the Melamede letter of credit, I was going to point something out that basically was an appreciation on my part for some of the banks that we're working with as far as our letters of credit. We've really upped our game on our letters of credit with respect to our new development ordinance. Our engineers have been working with us to make sure that the issuers of these letters of credit understand that we're requiring so much more in the way of obligations that are subject to the letters of credit. And so we're starting to see the banks come around and including the requirements in the letter of credit itself, and we're not getting any blowback or as much, let me put it that way. And so anytime that I can say thank you to those who are helping to get into compliance, I want to try to do that. It's also somewhat a way for me to encourage others in the banking community to get on board with us and help us with this as well. And I think it's starting to work. The word is getting out, and so I wanted to give that message of encouragement there. The first item under my section is to set a public hearing for September 4, and I noticed that item B is also a hearing for September 4. I'd ask that those two items be taken together at 9 a.m. for Warren Zachary Edwards conditional use permit and Amy Smith conditional use permit.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morris, a second Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Item C is a consideration of and potential action to adopt a resolution that encourages our state legislature to divert a portion of the use tax, what they're calling use tax, collected on interstate internet sales and sports gambling operations to Rankin County and all Mississippi counties for use in addressing critical infrastructure expenses incurred by all Mississippi counties. This is a work effort on behalf of the Mississippi Association of Supervisors. It's gone out to all counties for consideration by the respective boards of supervisors. You're being asked to execute that resolution. I put it together. It should be in your packet. I made a few slight modifications to make it more specific to Rankin County, but for the most part, it tracks the MAS resolution. And I would encourage you to go ahead and sign it. Let's get it to the legislature.
So moved.
Motion Mr. Cross, second Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
To my knowledge, the special session has not been called yet, but we're anticipating that that's going to happen. So that resolution will be handy when and if that happens. Item D is a discussion of and potential action on adjustments to our county utility permit application. This sort of surfaced, recently we made some modifications to our utility permit that stepped up a few requirements on the utility providers with respect to where in the utility right of way, in the public right of way, the utilities could be placed. For the most part, we've had good compliance from our utility providers with respect to our new permit process. There has been at least one objection raised on behalf of AT&T through their legal division. I think that there are representatives from AT&T who are here. You guys are welcome to come forward. So I wanted to kick us off on that. Mr. President, with your indulgence, we will allow AT&T to speak their piece on this issue. I'm going to let them speak to you about their misgivings, about some of the requirements that we've raised, and then I'll have something to address after they finish. Gentlemen.
Good morning, sir. If you'll be kind enough to state your name, please, sir, for the record.
Good morning. My name is Michael Walker, Director of External Affairs with AT&T. Back in June, I believe, I had a chance to talk with the board, and we talked about the permit language, if you will, and there were some concerns that we had about it. Long story short, we have a statewide franchise to be in the right-of-way throughout the state, and our attorneys feel that the permit language that's currently written would force us to give up our statewide franchise. And what we did was made a slight modification in the language that we shared with Mr. Slay that we feel like would maintain our right to be in the right-of-way and not encumber us with any unnecessary costs or fees. I will tell you, historically, we've not had any issues in Rankin County. If we have to relocate because of a road move, we always do at our own cost. If there's any damages, we pay for those. So we've not had any issues that would cause us to be put in a position where we give up our right-of-way rights by statute that the state has granted us. And it goes back to the late 1800s. That's part of the Constitution. So we feel like the attorneys, and I'm not an attorney, Mr. Slay, so I'm not going to get into all the particulars of it, but we feel like the language as it was written would compromise our statewide franchise, and that's why we submitted some additional language that clarifies and maintain our position. But as I mentioned, we will always continue to work with the county. We will relocate on road moves. We do it at our own expense. if it's on the right of way. So that's something that will not change. Thank you, sir.
Mr.
Thank
Slade.
you.
So the issue as raised by legal counsel for AT&T, and this gentleman is in Atlanta, and apparently couldn't be here today, and so I understand that. That's just part of the issue. What they are objecting to in our permit ordinance is simply what is in fact codified in our permit that relates to how we typically do things with our utility provider. So our new permit simply states in writing, black and white, that if you put your utilities in our right-of-way, okay, they have the right to access public right-of-way, have the right to access it, then if you do that, you will agree with us on the front end as part of the permitting process that if we, Rankin County, go back out to address issues of maintenance in our right-of-way, and we get in your infrastructure accidentally, you're not going to charge us for that. You have the privilege of being in our right-of-way. We need to work in our right-of-way. Sometimes things are going to happen. So I codified that what they are giving up is the right to come after Rankin County for reimbursement of infrastructure damage caused by Rankin County. What I thought was the clarification that they were seeking was that we would not ask them to give up their right to get a recovery against any other party that might damage their infrastructure. So if AT&T's got a line in our right-of-way and C-Spire comes through and rips up AT&T infrastructure, going into our right-of-way to lay their fiber, then AT&T does not give up the right to go after C-Spire for that damage. You understand what and so we sought to clarify it that way, and I got a response back late Friday. No, that's not what we intended. We want you, the county, to take that provision out of your permit that somehow suggests that we can't sue you for damaging our infrastructure in your right-of-way. I think that's a bridge too far. The Constitution does give them the permission to be in our right-of-way, but it's not completely unregulated. And I would like for the record to reflect that AT&T does not have the right to come into our right-of-way and treat us as if they are the king of the world. They're not going to access our right-of-way however they want to, whenever they want to. That's not how it works. We have the ability under the law, constitutionally and otherwise, we have the ability to provide for certain regulations. They got to be at the right depth. They've got to be at the right location. They need to tell us where they are, when they are there. They need to tell us what is there after they're finished. Give us as-bills. And every court in the land has addressed these kinds of regulations and clarified, yes, the local political subdivisions, in fact, do have the ability to regulate these large corporate, multinational corporations that access this right-of-way. You do have the ability to place regulations on these large multinational companies. They're not just going to come in and run roughshod over you. Yes, in the past we have gotten along real well with our utility providers. Most of the time what we find is that the local folks are incredibly reasonable, but sometimes their hands get tied by corporate, and they can only go so far, stretch so far. And so as we introduce these kinds of regulations, sometimes you're going to have that natural tension where some fellow over in Atlanta is going to get hot and bothered about some part of our regulation that we're introducing. And I understand, where they're coming from. They don't want to have 1,000 different regulatory prescriptions that they have to keep up with. Where are we working today, and what particular regulation do they follow? It's important for them to have a uniform as it can be, a uniform system of how they access right-of-way. I get that. I understand that. But for our purposes, what we are looking to do is to simply put in writing the way that we have behaved historically, probably since 1800. The truth of the matter is this. They have one hang-up in our permit. The rest I think they're okay with. At least it hasn't been raised as an issue with me. That one issue is that liability waiver. Okay? And there's some differences across the nation. I took the time, I wasted my time and the board's time because of what AT&T wanted to raise here over the weekend to sort of delve into this a little bit more, at a little bit deeper level. And what I found was there's a little bit of a conflict among the courts, where the issue of can a local political subdivision like a county or municipality, can they enforce a waiver of liability against one of these large multinationals? And there's a difference. There are courts that disagree about whether or not that can happen. AT&T takes a position, you can't regulate away our ability to collect on a liability exposure. You can't do that. And there are courts who have said that's right. And then there are courts who have said, no, they can. You can. AT&T, you can waive your ability to collect from that political subdivision for damages caused by that political subdivision in their own right-of-way. Guys, it's our right-of-way. It's our property. They get access to it, and we're telling them, you're not going to come back and sue us and collect from us if we damage your infrastructure in our right-of-way. We're giving you the permission to be in our right-of-way. That seems very reasonable to me, and I'm not going to get hung up on it. I'll tell you this. This is my position on it at this point. Since there's a little bit of a conflict among the courts, and there's uncertainty as to whether or not we could enforce that, I'm willing to say for AT&T permits, let it go. Because here's what's going to happen. The minute that AT&T sends us a bill for infrastructure that we allegedly damage in our right-of-way, we're going to send them 10 bills from Rankin County for county infrastructure that AT&T and its subcontractors have damaged. And I guarantee you, we will win that battle every single time. They'll be writing us a check. It's just the truth of the matter. We don't bill them for damages to our county infrastructure that they cause. In the past, they've stepped up and paid for some things, but we never sent them a bill. And it's actually their insurance company that paid for it. But we don't make it a practice to send AT&T a bill for damaged infrastructure. If we get into that battle with AT&T, they will be writing us checks every single time. So it's not a big issue for me. It's not one that we ought to get in the ditch and fight over. I just want it on the record. I want it so that when it gets back to Atlanta, they see very clearly what our position is. Get in our right of way, damage our infrastructure, try to send us a bill, and get ready, because we're going to be sending 10 bills back your way.
Gentleman behind you wants one other comment there.
Sure. May I respond?
Come on up, please.
If I may, we have never objected to the fact that the county maintains police authority over the right-of-way. While the grant for the statewide franchise comes from the state, we understand local jurisdiction and the permitting process. We file permits because that's what we have to do locally. If there's been damages or cut cables, we do pay for it. A lot of times we've written off bills. But the only thing we're trying to do is protect ourselves because of the 811 law. If the county goes in and does some work without getting a locate, we want to make sure that all that's documented. But we have no issue with, because we've never had a problem in the past. I mean, we've never had any issues, but it's just that the attorney feels like the way it's written, if we just sign off on that, we're giving up something that has not been an issue, if you will, with the company. Because we do want the 811 law to be followed, and we do appreciate and respect and do follow the permit process that the county has outlined. That's why we fill out the permits and send them in. So we're not trying to get out of doing anything that we already currently do. We just don't want this extra thing thrown into it that we feel may injure us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate it. All right, Mr. Slay, what was your preference here?
This really was just a discussion about that. I really wanted you guys to have an opportunity to hear about it. My concern was that it may come to the surface before you guys without your having any information at all. You'd be totally lost trying to follow what the argument was as you heard it. So I wanted to give you that background so that you were aware of it. My position, again, is pretty clear. We're fine to modify the permit to allow for a removal of that liability waiver with the understanding, as I mentioned, we're simply not we're not going to pay any attention to any requests that we reimburse anybody for damages to utility infrastructure, private utility infrastructure that's in our right-of-way. We're not going to respond to any of that. And if we're made to respond, we're going to respond in kind.
Fair enough. We appreciate it, Mr. Oster. Mr. Slay, I'm trying to move on, obviously. Ms. Oster.
Yes, the first item I have this morning is on our Rankin County Courthouse facility, and it's approval of pay application number 13 to Chris Albritton Construction Company in the amount of $315,936.55 and authority to issue that check.
Motion approved by Mr. Cross, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
The next
E,
item
please.
is approval of pay application number 6. This is on our misdemeanor facility to Flagstar Construction Company in the amount of $150,517.05 and authority to issue that check.
Motion, Mr. Morrison, second, Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Troxler, come on up.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
As you know, we try to limit tax exemptions to once a year, and the ones that come in by June the 1st of the years, the ones we present this year, we only had 7 companies requesting tax exemptions. Our board has acted and request that you all accept these 7 companies. I know that there may be one small issue we might need to work through on one that Craig will tell us about, but we're very comfortable with these expansions and some of the new jobs that have been added, and look forward to continuing to have strong industrial clients in our county, and appreciate all that y'all do to help make that possible.
Craig?
I mean, just briefly, before we take action on this matter, I want to say first how much I appreciate Tom and the folks over at Rankin First for their effort in pulling this all together. I also want to say thank you to our tax assessor who has to work through these exemption requests and make sure that there's compliance there, raise any questions that he may have about them, and it doesn't just happen. And so I wanted to say a very special thanks for all the work that goes into that and the effort that's put into that to try to help shepherd us through this process. There are 2 exemption requests. One is the High Bay USA, which is the Richland Pearl Avalorm expansion, and the GI Associates. Those 2, I would ask, Mr. President, with your indulgence, that we simply take those out of the mix for the moment, table those 2 requests. I don't have any issues with any of the other requests, but those 2 we need to look at a little more closely. There's a couple of issues of potential compliance that we want to make sure we're clear on, and we think we can come back perhaps at the next board meeting and be able to take action on those 2. That would be my request.
So the motion would be, gentlemen, is you would, based on what's read in the agenda, you reflect in the agenda the 2 that you want to table, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, is there a motion to do that? Motion by Mr. Morrison, second Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next, Ms. Oster.
Authority to purchase 3 2016 Ford Explorers from the Missouri Highway Patrol in the amount of $19,500 each from the Sheriff's Drug Seize Fund, and authority for some of his employees to travel and pick these vehicles up and pay any travel-related expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. E, Ms. Oster.
Approval of B&E Communications as a sole source for strategic partner for the EST fire protection products. This is a panel that will go in our alarm system in the Justice Building.
Okay.
Motion, Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Additional business, Ms. Oster.
This is, I'm going to tag back on this after what John had said. This has nothing to do with our rates as far as what we're charging. This one is totally separate. This is to enter into an interlocal agreement with Mississippi ORTHO 2019 Aerial Photography Update Initiative and execute the documents. What this is going to do is it's an interlocal to allow us in. I think there's about 10 counties that they will go out and bid for this aerial photography to get the best price. We are not obligated at this time to do it. We will just be in the pool if we choose to go forward.
Motion, Mr. Cross, second, Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Anything else, board, for additional business? Is there a need to go into executive session?
Yes, sir, there is.
I'll entertain a motion to talk about the need to go into executive session.
Make
Mr.
the motion.
Gaines, second, Mr. Claus. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. What is the need?
Acquisition of property and potential litigation.
So a motion for acquisition of property and litigation by Mr. Cross, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. like everyone to please vacate the room, please, sir and ma'am. Thank y'all for coming. Yeah, I forget, got to bring that in. Litigation from. He's pretty good about that.
There you go, baby.